Welcome to another episode of the Waffle Shop podcast. Again, it's another special episode of the Waffle Shop podcast because it's in person with a very good friend of mine now, life and mindset coach, Jack Tipper.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Welcome to the Waffle Shop. Well, it's
Mate,
not even a shop, it's like a container.
I love it. It's a shop container. I'm loving the shop container, mate. I love it. Thank you so much for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
It's the pleasure's mine. Like, obviously, you've traveled here.
120 miles, I think it was.
I mean, I think the furthest one so far is Leeds, which I think
How far's
might be-
Leeds from here?
I don't know why I brought that up because I have no idea how
competition.
far. Yeah,
How far have you travelled? Get out.
Yeah, so sorry. If it's not over 100 miles, you're out the door.
Bye-bye. No problem enough.
No, to be fair, we were saying this before, kind of like we hit the record button. It's so surreal because some of these connections that we were like making and stuff like were smack bang in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like to now be in a position where like we're meeting people and like having these kind of conversations in like person. Like I find it really mind blowing.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like at that time, like no one knew what they were doing.
No.
But I feel like your life has changed so much since then.
Yeah.
And then obviously life, I mean, I'm no longer sat in my bedroom
Yeah.
having these kind of conversations. So it's always like trust the process.
Yeah, 100%. I think what you said about my life changing, like it's a completely different life and completely different world outside. But like, yeah, my zone has been probably I can't quite articulate the level of change that I've had in terms of like how I perceive things now and what I do and stuff. But yeah, comparing how life is now, and you probably agree, compared to like lockdown where we like first, started chatting and we jumped on Instagram Live, it's like, how the hell did we get here?
Yeah,
Like,
it's mad.
How did this happen?
Speaking of things that how the hell did this happen? I start each one of the shows with something called the Weekly Waffle that sometimes has me shouting, how the hell did this happen? Because it annoys me.
Yeah.
And then I'm in a situation where, I have to talk about it.
Yeah,
Because obviously we all know talking about things makes it better.
Yes, it does.
So the thing that's been really bothering, I mean, I'm saying it's bothered me, it's Sunday. I mean, there's probably a shitload of things that will wind me up in the next like 2-3 hours. But what really bothered me yesterday was table plans.
In terms of like events and like when you've already got like the names all spread out and stuff.
So I went to an event yesterday. It was like a summer ball. It was very posh, fancy.
Yeah.
Even though it says summer ball, it absolutely pouted it down.
It wasn't summer weather.
No,
not at all.
And then I got sat next to someone that I must have one of those faces, or I don't know if it's just because I like to talk. I like to listen.
You should do a podcast.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I'm in the wrong job. And she just continued to talk about probably for about a good 45 minutes of how bad her life was.
Yeah, I'll be out of
there. And but that's the stage it got to. And I told myself, like, I'm not going to drink. Like, I had this today. I'm gonna drink. But I found myself going to the bar just to have a break.
Just to get through it.
And I'm an advocate for like talking and stuff like that, but like timing and place. Like I'm at a summer ball, like I'm with like my friends. And there's this woman who she was there with her husband. Like she could have spoke to her husband.
Maybe he's had enough of it.
Yeah, he's probably exactly the
Talk
same.
to someone else.
He was also at the bar. And it was just like, come on now. Like, and I don't know what's annoying. I don't know if it's the table plan, that lady in particular, but it was just like I have this thing where I match energy. So if I'm kind of around a bit of a negative vibe, bring me down.
Vibration.
But then as soon as the music started, she was like a whip it.
Yeah, get out of there.
Straight up on the dance floor. I was like, I've just spent the past 45 minutes being drained.
You're a nobody now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what's annoyed me.
I'd be the same, mate.
Event etiquette, I guess.
I'm that type in like social situations where my social battery can either be fairly good or it can like shut down, like go faulty immediately. Like, last week I was at an engagement party. I was drinking, but I don't really drink that much anymore. And I was just like, yous are all chatting bollocks now. I'm done with it. My other half was drinking. I was like, she's just gone to the drink for another bar. For God's sake, that's another half an hour minimum. I've got to go. So how's things? I don't give a shit. So yeah, I do struggle.
Small talk.
Yeah,
it's
literally,
small talk.
the small talk I really struggle with. I'd love to get into it sometimes, but just being like an ear sometimes, especially with someone you don't really know.
Yeah,
I can see why that's got on your tits, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm just, I don't know if it's my face or I don't know if it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
because I actively look
Talk
like
to
I'm
me.
listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, please talk to me.
I'm the open ear.
Please,
Talk to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just one person on the table who will listen. Please. Yeah, I feel a little bit better now.
Good.
What gets on your nerves? Tell me.
There's many a thing that gets on my nerves, and they're normally the small things, but I think it was brought much more apparent as like driving up here was just like impatient drivers who will genuinely risk their lives or thousands of pounds worth of car damage just to get ahead of one car and save point 0.7 seconds of their day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you okay? What's happened? Why are you going 85? Like, I'm happy to move over, but don't go literally in my boot just to get past me. Break the speed limit just so you can get home and watch, Love Island
Yeah.
and save about 1 second. I'm like, you're a dick.
Do you know what? I think it's the same. It's the same when people walk.
Walk, what, two?
Too fast, I find.
Oh, see, I'm a quick
Because
walker.
you can hear them
Mm,
stomping behind you.
mm.
And it's like, it puts that. I've got like an irrational fear of being like chased.
Oh, so you've got that anxiety in
Yeah.
those moments.
And
You're
then
like,
one you
shit.
can hear, like, I mean, I've got headphones in, so
Normally, it's not
yeah.
so much.
But
Yeah.
I can hear like the,
Pitter patter behind
yeah.
you. Normally, I'm a very fast walker, but I'm over many years of practice can maneuver through people quite
Yeah.
quickly. And I have, and here's the key, here's the kicker. I have the patience just to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas the BMW on the outside, and if this is you, slow down, wait your turn.
If
Just
you're
wait a little
listening
bit.
to this, slow down.
If you're a 1 Series
Yeah.
driver, get out the inside.
Get a new car.
Yeah. God's sake.
And a life.
That's my yeah, just the whole podcast
Yeah.
changed
Stop
the title.
watching Love Island.
Yeah. That's my
God.
weekly waffle. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what happened to me then.
No, that's okay.
But no, I think there's a life lesson there as well. I think, what is the rush? Do you get there and do you get to the destination any quicker by taking the shortcuts?
But here's the thing: we could go into an incredibly deep topic here about just being present and taking your time, and what is the rush. But sometimes I think again, this is a blanket policy, generalizing stuff. I think people just get caught up in the concept of like, I need to do the next and the next and the next. I need to get
Yeah.
there quicker, and I'm just like, whoa, easy now. Like,
Yeah.
practice impatience. I had a little bit of an epiphany. It was like a couple of weeks ago. I was driving somewhere with my other half, and I was just saying, oh my god, that's why they call it like practice impatience, because if I'm like needing to be patient, you practice it over time so you become a more patient person.
Yeah.
I was like, how have I never thought of that before? And it's such a blasé thing. But yeah, in terms of like the life
That's
lessons,
powerful.
practicing patience, because there's going to be points where you need to be more patient. This is what it's like speaking to a life coach. I
Yeah.
just deep everything. But it's like, oh my God, like that's why they call it practicing patience, because there's going to be points in life where you need to be more patient, which will control your emotions in that
Yeah.
moment. So just practice it in those little things like waiting for someone to indicate, learn a driver, walking down the street, things like that. I
Yeah.
was like, oh wow, that's why they call it
And
practicing
not only that,
patience.
but like you were in that position once as well. And it's like, how kind of like anxiety inducing like
Yeah.
those kind of moments are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, this is gonna be a good one. Good one. Already.
I love it.
Already.
Love to reminisce.
So obviously we first connected through Instagram Live way back when.
Yeah.
And I think at that time you were kind of dabbling with the whole kind of life coach
It was
kind
all kind of like
of,
mental health advocacy,
yeah,
just on like a surface level. That was pretty much where I was at.
following obviously your own journey.
Yeah.
What was it, that journey that kind of spiked the interest into like the life and mindset coaching?
I think it was, it all started, like, I'll take you back to where it all started. So it was the first Christmas in lockdown. So
Mm-hmm.
the 2020, I think was the
Yes.
first Christmas in lockdown. And I just jumped on my Instagram story and said, like, guys, I've always struggled at Christmas. And this was when I just had like friends and social interactions. And I didn't have like guys, as in people that followed me, so to speak. And I just said, look, if you struggle at Christmas, it's fine. Here's a few things you can do to improve, like your mindset and like be okay.
Yeah.
As much as possible. And the reception was crazy. Like normally you'd go on a night out and get like one person reply to your story, or maybe nothing. I had like 30 people reply to the story, which for me at that time was like, I mean, even now it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll start doing some videos.
Bit of an eye opener though, isn't it?
It's crazy. Like, much more people that are like, oh, there's a lot of people struggling. Then throughout 2021, that was just purely mental health advice, like reading books, and I was doing my own journey and things that I was learning, I was telling other people to do.
Yeah.
And then started, you follow more accounts, and it was actually, this is the second time I've dropped his name on a podcast. So if you're listening, Charlie Owen, you owe me money for
yes.
yeah. So
yes.
because you've done
he's been on.
He has,
Friend
yeah.
of the show, yeah.
So
he's back in the UK actually.
he is, yeah. He was in Liverpool for a bit.
Oh,
Where's
is
he
he
at
back
now?
already?
Because I think he's gone back to Bali now.
Little shit.
I
He said he
know.
would message me when he was in the
If
UK.
he's listening to this now, he's gonna be like, "Why are they talking about me on
No,
a
I'm gonna
podcast?"
put this out as a social clip, and I hope he feels
Yeah,
guilty.
Charlie, this is the second time, so you like just wire me some money because of the exposure. It's crazy right
Yeah.
now. Anywho, yeah, I jumped on a call with him because his mission was very similar to
Mhm.
mine. He's like, "Have you ever thought about like being a coach?" And I didn't really know what this was. Directed me to a place where I got my qualification, and I was like, I could actually do this. I wasn't just thinking of it from like a business, like earning potential,
Yeah.
like this could be a job for me. I was just like, I could actually learn tools to help people, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, why don't I do this alongside my job? And then I just went like, didn't even jump into the deep end. It was just like completely immerse myself in the
Yeah.
concept of just thinking and improving things. And now this is just who I am now. Going back to
Yeah.
what we are saying, like how different things are. Like with
Yeah.
me, this is just what I am now.
But I think this is why I love having these kind of conversations
Yeah.
because especially the connections that I have because it's the pain to purpose, isn't
Hmm.
it? Like there's a real sense of, and I mean I can really feel it now. It's like you don't want other people to feel the same way that you did.
No.
So it's like, well, actually, if I can learn these tools,
Hmm.
like, and if you've got that kind of the relatability and that
Yeah.
kind of the way of making people listen to you,
Hmm.
not that that sounds very forceful, but it's
No.
not like that.
I
It's
get you.
more from a kind of you're a trusting voice.
You're
You're not
hurting. I can know how
yeah,
to help
you're
you.
not trying to be anything other than Jack. And I
Yeah.
think it's that kind of like authenticity, especially when it comes to like life coaches and
Yeah.
even mentoring anything
Hmm.
on any level. Like that's what people buy into
Yeah. Agreed.
because it's not just like, oh, it's a quick fix. It's
Yeah.
like you're still we're all still learning.
Oh, 100%. I'm just a human being. I struggle just as much as anyone
Yeah.
else, but the difference is like how to bounce back from it. And again, this is like what I'm about in terms of solutions, like improvements, things like that. And I've always been proud of myself that I have that element of relatability,
Yeah.
which I found my challenges when turning it into a business. Because then obviously selling and marketing is a part of
Yes.
business. So I
Yeah.
always found that quite challenging, and I still will. But it's like the simplicity, and obviously there's going to be things down the line that I create, but it's just the simplicity of you're struggling, know that there is a way to improve it, improve it.
Yeah.
That's how I would like majority of people to see the blueprint of, oh shit, I feel like rubbish. How do I get better? That's
Yeah.
kind of thought process.
With that, then obviously going back to that Christmas at 2020 when you were struggling and
Yeah.
like you posted that on your Instagram story to where life is now,
Mm.
do you feel like it was like this is what I should have been doing?
Oh yeah, I wish I started it. I started another business in lockdown as well, like just some digital marketing stuff, just because
Mm.
I wanted something to do other than my 9 to 5 job. And it
Yeah,
was like, I wish I started this sooner. But at the same time, the whole like, I think it's the butterfly effect concept. It's like I don't regret not going through the things I did because then I wouldn't be where I am right now. So there's like
yeah.
no elements of regret there to a certain point, consciously anyway. Um, but yeah, it's there is that
I need
element
to
of
ask you that actually because it's something that I really struggle with.
okay,
Is it's not necessarily regret.
mm,
It's almost it's guilt. It's not
interesting,
regret. It's guilt
yeah,
because if I hadn't have gone through what I did,
yeah,
I wouldn't be sat here having this conversation with
no,
you. If I didn't go through what I did, I wouldn't
no,
have the podcast. I wouldn't have
mm.
like the
X,
studio.
Y, Z.
Yeah. And it's almost like I clam up when people
Mhm,
come into the space and they're like, oh my God, like you've smashed it, like you've done well. And I'm like, inside, I'm just like this little kid still
mhm,
that's like, well, I've almost lost my mom,
mhm.
like, because of it. Like, not because of it, like, you know what I mean? It's come at such a huge cost.
Yeah.
And because the situation that obviously caused it is
Mhm,
still to this day
mhm.
going on.
Yeah,
Um, so it's a weird one to kind of navigate because you
yeah.
have to kind of see those moments of like, well, actually, yeah, I wouldn't be here if I didn't
It's a
go
choice.
through that. But
Mhm,
I'm also here
mhm.
because I didn't give up.
That thought process is what you do as a choice.
Yeah.
And I tell that to people because you can choose the way you think about certain situations, and the end of those two rabbit holes of a thought
Yeah.
process will, dictate how you're feeling. So one for you would be, how dare you say that because I've gone through X, Y, Z. That's going to
Yeah.
create like anger, frustration, etc. Or you can go, fair enough, you're only seeing surface level of this, but I know which all that matters is what you
Yeah.
know internally is that you've gone through that, learned from it, and there's an abundance of positives that have come away
Yeah.
from such a horrific situation. That's a choice, and that's a much more that's an empowering thing for people to know that the way you think about certain situations, which creates your emotions, is a choice. And
Yeah.
that's so hard for people to hear. There's probably people listening to be like, fuck you, that you have no idea what I've been through. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it, it's a choice. Like you
But the
can.
thing is, though, with that, and I used to have that attitude,
Mhm,
especially when like people used to respond with a negative comment. If I was talking about this one moment in particular for me, I posted about when I had a panic attack,
mhm,
and I compared it to standing on a plug
mm,
because it's that almost like that, like it came from nowhere.
mhm.
Like I was like
You feel it
tense. I
in
was
your
like, oh my
hands.
god.
Yeah.
And then all of us, like once I kind of worked through it,
Yeah.
I almost kind of, I didn't feel silly. That's probably the wrong language to use.
It's whatever you
But
perceive it to be,
yeah, I
Yeah.
felt like, oh well,
Is that it?
yeah,
Mhm.
okay, like we'll survive that.
Yeah,
It's the same
100%.
as kind of like standing on a plug or stubbing your toe.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got some comments back saying like, "This is not what it feels like. How dare you? You probably don't
Oh, I've
even
had
experience."
tons.
I
Yeah.
was like, "But that's not your experience. This is my
Yeah, exactly.
experience." But then it's interesting then that choice
Mhm,
word because it's like I chose not to respond to that
mhm.
because I was, I guess, emotionally intelligent enough because of these kind of
To be
conversations
ignorant to
to
it.
to be like, well, actually, that's how you took that, but
Yeah.
like that's I can't control what you think.
Yeah, and that's a
I,
choice. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a solution to the problem of like, oh, I don't really want to feel bad about someone commenting negative. Okay, well, don't then.
yeah.
Like that is,
God,
it's
look at
great.
us. It's on Sunday morning.
It's great, man. Seriously, when you learn stuff and what I teach you, it's like, oh, you can change your life
Yeah.
just by thinking about things differently. It's
Is
good.
there like an older version of Jack that's like that you kind of look back to and be like, I wish you knew this sooner?
Yeah, it's like one of the things I do on my podcast. One of the last questions I ask people is like, what would you tell yourself like 10 years ago?
Yeah,
Something like that. But like, the thing is, it's like, okay, so let me take you to like when I was 2018, I went through a breakup and that like destroyed my instant. I was like, I got diagnosed with mild depression, but like for me, it wasn't mild. It was like,
yeah,
it's whatever I perceive it to be, right? So yeah, it was heavy. It was heavy. For like the best part of 9 months, it was like April to, I'd say January of the following year, 2019. And I can now see that problem as something that I don't regret because if I didn't go through it, I wouldn't have learned how to build up my self respect, how to build self responsibility, how to find love now,
yeah,
know how to communicate, to not put up with shit. Like I could literally speak here for about an hour of the learnings that I took from that. So
yeah,
do I regret it? Hell no. Would I go through it again? 100%. Did I like it? Fuck no. I was depressed. Why would I like that? But my whole life has changed with going through a a substantial dip in quality of life. So I'm like, thank fuck
yeah.
that happened.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
That is an incredibly powerful position to be in.
it's empowering, right? That's again
Yeah,
choice.
yeah,
Oh, look what I went through. How sad I was. Oh my god, do you remember how sad I was? Yeah. Oh my god, I went through. I was like, I was drinking a lot. I was literally, I didn't want to leave my room. Like, how sad. Oh, hello, sad emotion now.
yeah,
Or fuck you. Like you took me through that. Watch what I
yeah,
can do now. Watch. You didn't believe in me. You thought you was way better than me. You treat me like shit. Watch what I'm about to do.
yeah.
That's a choice.
Do you know what? I can almost as well. Like you mentioned Charlie earlier, and
Yeah.
I can literally, I can feel the same level of passion,
Yeah.
like for this kind of thing coming from yourself.
It's great.
One of the things I learned from him, literally just the other day, I kind of pushed past a limiting belief,
Mm-hmm.
and I labeled anxiety
Yeah.
as my anxiety,
Mm.
and he messaged and said, don't call it like my anxiety, call it just
It's
anxiety.
a feeling.
Because as soon as you start taking ownership of that,
Mm-hmm.
like it starts to kind of latch itself even more.
It's
So it's like, oh, it's
identity.
mine. And you kind of almost then become like a bit possessive of it
Mm-hmm.
because it's yours. And at first when I read it, I was like, this makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then throughout the course of the day, when I was really kind of breaking it down,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, yeah, I don't own happiness. I don't own anger. I don't own
Yes.
depression. I
Yes.
experience those feelings,
Yes.
but I don't own it. It's not mine.
No.
And it was such a eye
Yeah.
opener.
My reaction there was just because I do this to my clients now. So just to give you like a bit of context to that. And first of all, brilliant. I'm so glad he messaged you that and you and that ruminated on that day. So I had a client who came to me. She's 19, going through university, regular panic attacks,
Yeah.
anxiety. We rated it about an 8.5 out of 10.
Wow. Okay.
Incredibly
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
In 6 weeks, we got it down to a 2. The Yeah, in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
The very first thing I said to her was, stop telling people you're an anxious person. because what do you think your subconscious is going to believe? Every time there's a situation, your head's in a millisecond is going to do this. Well, it's like, oh, I might be late for my flight. I'm an anxious person. Okay, this is what I normally do. Hands are sweaty, create anxiety emotions,
Yeah.
anxiety attack. What do you think's going to happen? So you do what you did, and what like Charlie advised you to
Mm.
do is like take the identity. The very first thing I said to her was just say you're experiencing anxiety right now, because anxiety has kept humans alive for millions of years.
Yeah.
Without anxiety, we wouldn't run out the road if a car was coming towards us. Anxiety pushes us out of the way. So we need anxiety. It's fucking helpful. It's great. We need it if we're running late for work, whatever it may be. So stop. You wouldn't judge yourself for being happy, like you said. You wouldn't go, "Oh my god, I'm feeling so happy right now." Fuck no, you wouldn't fucking do that. You just feel it. So anxiety is the same thing. Yeah, detaching the emotion to your identity is so powerful. It's like an incredibly profound perspective shift, which then, as a byproduct, reduces the elements of anxiety. So you'll know that you're therefore not suffering with it. You're just like, I'm feeling anxiety right now. What's this for? Comes with a message. As in, that's another rabbit hole we can obviously go
Yeah.
down, but it's good. I'm glad you had that.
I feel like I want to clap. Literally, I
Yes.
feel like I'm like, yes, I've learned something. It works.
Coaching session.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it
Get in.
actually works.
Yeah, man.
One of the topics that I did want to talk to you about, and it's actually in your Instagram bio, and I
Mm.
think this is where it's something as I guess as an adult,
Yeah.
I've really struggled with, and I don't really understand why I've struggled with
Mhm.
it. Um, but it's the whole conversation around happiness
Mm.
because there was such a huge period of time when I was just like, well, I'm not happy.
Mm.
And I've almost now have got like a bit of a stigma attached to the word and the
Interesting.
feeling
Mm.
because I don't know how to be happy.
Mm.
Like I can't see these moments happen. But then once I started to address the feeling and kind of like, well, actually, you do know how to be happy.
Mhm.
You're not allowing yourself to be
Yeah.
happy. That's what the change was.
Yeah.
I kind of want to ask you what
Mm.
your view on happiness, like what does it mean to you as a starter?
It's a big topic, and there's like deeper rooted stuff. I think like happiness is obviously just another emotion that we would like to feel more often than not. I think the what I don't want people to perceive is that just because I'm someone who's worked in mindset for years and this is what I live and breathe, I am sad, I am angry, I get
Yeah.
these emotions. It's how you deal with them. So my aim is to try and feel happy, content, fulfilled more often than not. Um, Happiness is the first thing that popped up in my head was like living within your values. So like whatever you value in life, like live within that. So if you're someone who loves freedom, what do you think you're going to feel if you're working a strict 9 to 5? You're going to feel a lack of happiness. If you're someone who loves traveling, but you haven't gone away in 3 years, what do you think you're going to feel? A lack of happiness. So it's like living within your values is a key one. And then it really is just down to your like micro decisions that you're making every single day. It's like, is this thing going to make you happy? Yeah, it's a very broad topic,
Mm.
one in which it obviously does take time and it's very person specific. But the point that you raised, which is obviously a deep, by the sounds of it, like a, I'm not going to sit here and coach you on it, but like a deeper
Oh, here we
set
go.
thing. Because I have
Good.
I had a like a client previously who didn't allow themselves to be happy,
Mm.
and it came from like a situation when she was 5, because something had happened in the subconscious is now a thing where it's like you don't deserve to be happy, or
Yeah.
if you are happy this is going to happen. So it's different for different people, but the surface level slash quicker thing you can do is live within your values, do the things that you enjoy doing, and try to subtract the things that you don't like doing.
Yeah.
I'm very left brain with that. I'm
Yeah.
very structured with that, and I'm like, well, this is just how I see things. But in terms of going back to your question of how I perceive happiness, it's just, yeah, the things that make me unhappy and sad, two-prong approach. Take action to improve it or think about it differently. Simple as. Remove the problems.
Yeah.
So you either think about it differently, perspective shift to make you feel better about it, or you take action to remove said problem. So there's no unhappiness there
Mm.
anymore. And do the things that I like doing to improve my happiness. And then my quality of life is better.
I mean, instantly, like, brilliant, straight away.
Yeah.
Why do you think we don't deserve to be happy?
I think it's a belief.
Yeah.
It's a belief that some of us may believe that we're not deserving of happiness because maybe something happened in the imprint years, which are around 7 years old.
Yeah.
Something would happen to us, and we'd link being happy with either disappointment, being let down, being shunned for it, being told off, whatever it may be. And there's that subconscious belief that you are not entitled to feel happy. It's like there's not all of our thoughts serve us, which I think a lot of people get wrong. They think that
Yeah.
all of the thoughts you have are you and they're there to serve you. That's bullshit. They're not. Um, So there's a part of your brain that's saying like, you don't deserve this. Like this is going to happen if you get happy. So then they like withdraw
Yeah.
themselves a little bit. So I think your point of like deserving to be happy, it's a belief. And here's the thing which is groundbreaking for me. A belief is just a firmly held opinion, and an opinion you can change. So if you don't want to believe something, you just change your opinion of it, and then you can change the belief. Yes. Yeah, and
Shit.
then you just reverse engineer it. So you're like, okay, what do you want to believe then? I deserve to be happy. Okay, why? Because I'm a good person. Boom, that's a
Yeah.
choice of like thought processes. And then you just start drip feeding things that make you happy in your day. Start doing affirmations as subconscious work on, I deserve to be happy. 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 What do you think your brain's going to think? Like
Yeah.
fast forward a few weeks if you telling yourself that you deserve to be
This
happy.
is brilliant. Oh God,
Yeah,
I
man.
feel all like
Welcome to
empowered.
coaching and self
Yeah,
development.
but
It's
it's
fucking great.
really it's frustrating though, isn't it? Because it's kind of like I look back, and this is why I was kind of interested in like older versions of Jack, like at
Mm,
different stages
yeah.
of this kind of journey.
Yeah.
Because on my own journey, I look back now and it'd be information like this that I'm just kind of almost screaming at myself. And I can almost, it's like an out of body experience
Mhm.
sometimes when I'm like, this is not what you want to do.
Mhm.
Like when I've been in certain situations, like jobs, relationships,
Yeah.
and it's that kind of, I think this is why I've struggled with the whole happiness thing because I'm like, you are staying in the situation
Mhm.
and you are not doing anything about it
Mhm.
and then moaning that you're not happy.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm not taking shots at anyone here. I'm purely speaking
Mhm.
from personal experience.
Mhm.
Um, it wasn't until I started to challenge and change those beliefs
Mhm.
because I think for such a huge period of time, I was conditioned
Yeah.
both from outside factors and even internal
Mhm.
factors to believe a certain way. This
Yeah.
is life should be this way,
Yes.
life should be that way.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until this really traumatic event that happened to me
Mhm.
that I was like, fuck that.
You don't deserve this.
No.
Yeah.
Like, and then I think that's why even now, like, I clam up a bit about having all of this because
Mhm.
I'm like, well, I don't deserve it.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I worked my bollocks off to get to this point
Yeah,
of like,
100%.
of not giving up, having that mindset of like, well, the alternative for me
Mm.
was far scarier
Then giving it a go.
than, yeah,
Yeah, I talk about it all the time. It's like when I went part-time with my office job, I still work
yeah,
there 3 days a week, but I've managed to build like the coaching up
yeah.
alongside it. Someone at work on my first day was like, "Oh, aren't you lucky?" In my head, I'm like,
No,
"Don't you?"
no,
I was like, "Yeah," laughed it off. Inside, I'm like, "Don't you fucking tell me I'm lucky." The amount of
yeah,
hours I've put, like, how many hours have you put in? Like, why do you
yeah,
think you're still working your 9 to 5? Like, how many hours after your shift have you studied? How many times have you not gone out? Have you cut down your drinking so you're not hungover to study?
yeah,
Fuck no, you haven't. Like, do you think your diet is serving you so that you've got like lack of energy in the morning? No, you haven't. Like, don't tell me I'm lucky because
yeah,
I've put hundreds of hours into this. Don't
yeah,
tell me I'm lucky. So it's like same as you. Yes, we deserve this because we put the fucking effort in for it.
yeah,
So I shouldn't feel bad for feeling good about it, and neither should you.
yeah,
Again, choice. So it's a much more empowering thing for you to do to feel the I don't know what the word is, like the deservedness, if that's even a word,
yeah,
to feel that happiness. And what was you saying a minute ago about like you went through that difficult part and you had that little bit of an epiphany, so to speak, where you've gone through such a difficult time
yeah,
and then you come out the other side of it. Yeah, same thing for me. It was like enough is enough. It's like talking to yourself in that manner,
yeah. You
which
get
some
tired of your own shit.
100%, and
Yeah,
some people find it hard to hear, which is fine. Again, everyone's entitled to it. But I've said this on probably, if you look at all the quotes and phrases I've said on my coaching
yeah,
calls with clients, this one stands out to me the best, and it's my belief system, and this is mine, and not anyone who's listening, not yours, not my girlfriend's, not anyone listening. This is mine. Is that if something is going wrong for me, or something's bad, or something's happened, and I don't like it, I'm of the belief that things can get better. Again, two-pronged approach: taking action or thinking about it differently.
mm,
That's my belief. That makes me feel better when something shit happens. If the same shit thing was to happen to someone else who doesn't have that belief system, who's going to be struggling less, me or them?
yeah,
It's going to be me, because that belief system, again, beliefs can be changed. So it's like the approach that you have taken over that difficult period of like, no, enough's enough. I deserve better than
yeah,
this. I'm going to die at one point. I might as well enjoy my time on this planet as much as possible. So we share the same belief for that.
yeah. It's a, to be fair, I was about to say it was a game changer, and to be fair, I don't think that quite covers it. I think I would
A
actually say
life
it's a
changer.
lifesaver.
Yeah,
To be
100%.
fair, because I think if I stayed in that mentality of almost being the victim
Mm,
and being like, oh, you know what, this really horrible thing has happened to me. Like I'm really sad. this is life now,
Mhm.
and it was there probably for about a year into the
Mhm.
whole situation, but it wasn't until those kind of the challenges and the
Mhm.
change in the thought process and being like, I don't think this should be it.
No.
Like, I think there's more out there. And I look back, especially, I guess, before all the situation had
Mhm.
happened, like, as like for my family, that I was like almost screaming out to be like, you deserve more than this.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think this is the whole happiness thing. It's
Yeah.
just like, well, actually, I wasn't doing anything that I really wanted to do.
Mhm.
I was doing all of these things
You're
because I
getting
felt like I
value.
had to. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they didn't align with me. I was doing them because I felt like I had to.
Mhm.
And, you to relate it back to even like the car journey, like here, um, sometimes stopping,
Yeah.
like not necessarily stopping altogether,
Mhm.
keep your foot on the pedal a little bit,
Mhm.
um, but taking a bit of a slower approach can really kind of
Mhm.
awaken
Mhm.
this kind of whole new way of thinking, this whole new life.
Yeah.
Um, but you just can't give up. That's the only thing.
Yeah, the
Like
main
you
thing
can
is not
slow
giving
down, but
up.
you can't give up.
No, never giving up. And then the main thing is there's two things I want to bring up. One, and just like wanting to both us to remember because I'll probably forget, is one about the ego, and two, I've literally just forgotten it. So we'll talk about the ego, and then the other one, that was it, about like we sometimes wait for a big thing to happen to us than to
Yeah.
change. So I'll park that one. I'll talk about the ego real quick. You know, when you were just talking, when I was talking about it as well, when something bad happens to us and we have that feeling of, well, whatever comes with it, so
Mhm.
sadness, etc. I think it's the ego, but I'm going to just talk about it. It might be the ego, some expert, from the book I read, or whether I've probably forgotten or misworded it. Regardless of what it is, there is a part of our brain which basically says to us, like, hey, like Taylor, like this thing's happened to you, that you should probably feel sad right now.
Yeah.
You go, fuck, yeah, I should feel angry right now.
Yeah.
You're going to be angry for the next couple of months. So I say that to people sometimes, and I'm like, give yourself a little bit of a break because there's a
Mhm.
part of your brain that says, thing has happened. I should feel sad or angry about thing, and now I'm feeling sad. I'm like, that's fine. Like, that's very natural because there's a part of you that's like, you should feel this way, but it's feeling that way that's not serving you. That's
Yeah.
when I'm like, right, coaching time, bang, let's like address this with changes and stuff. And that's like worth saying if that kind of makes sense.
No, it does, but it's also like, I mean, we're talking about like the whole range of emotions here.
Yeah,
Like if you want to feel sad, you're allowed to feel sad.
100%.
If you're happy, like we said it before, like if you don't give yourself a hard time for being happy,
Mm,
so don't do it when you are feeling anxious,
hmm.
sad, or even maybe like a little bit depressed.
Yeah.
It's not normal to feel one emotion all the time.
Hmm.
Like whether it is sad, whether it's happy, like it's just not kind of life cannot be like that. These things are going to get thrown at us.
It'd be boring if it was.
Yeah, left, right, and center.
Hmm.
Like we wouldn't learn, we wouldn't grow
Hmm.
if we weren't faced with these kind of challenging scenarios or
Yeah.
obstacles. The key thing is, and I think you'll back me up here, is allowing yourself
Hmm.
to feel those emotions, not
Yeah.
giving yourself a hard time
Yeah.
through it, and just know that it's not going to last forever. Whether it's happy,
Hmm.
whether it's sad, whether it's anxious,
Yeah.
like at some point the roller coaster is going to go back up, it's going to come back down.
Yeah.
But the point is just like kind of, it sounds so cheesy, but just to enjoy the
Hmm.
kind of the
The ups and
ride.
the downs. Yeah, it's like you feel it fine. And again, I don't want people to think just because I'm someone who's like, yeah, feel better, change. I'm like, I don't see someone who's sad. I'm like, you can't feel that. No, because I feel sad. Like, I
Yeah,
think in the last month, I've had two massive breakthroughs that have caused me to have like immense sadness. And like, I think I
yeah,
was literally crying non-stop for about 30 minutes, like
wow,
midnight a couple of weeks ago in my life. Because I've recently just moved in with my partner, and there's a lot of stuff that's come up, and I've done like my own mindset coaching. I've been on the receiving end of
hmm,
it. So there's a lot of stuff that's come up. I wasn't judging myself for feeling sad. I allowed, like you said, going back to the point, I was allowing myself to feel that sadness, realizing that every emotion comes with a message. Like, what is this trying to tell me? What am I feeling right now? What's a nicer, better way of navigating this? It's all about emotional intelligence, like you
yeah,
said. So yeah, definitely like the key steps to it is don't bottle it up, talk about it, but understand that it comes with a message and you're the person who's got the power to change that. And I think, and here's where like the mental health space is tricky, and I challenge it a little bit because the whole concept of being someone who is depressed,
yeah,
or someone who has, there's no point me going on about like the specific conditions. Let's just take depression as one. Okay, I understand that depression comes from a chemical imbalance, and there is like some physiological stuff that goes on. However, if you can be the most holistically healthier individual who thinks about stuff better, who talks, who has better relationships, and you can improve all these areas. Do you think there is a chance that you can improve your depression by taking these steps? And my solid belief system is that it would be yes, which would therefore mean that depression, I don't want to say it's a choice, but I would argue that there is a substantial amount of personal responsibility that we can take to improve our own like symptoms of depression, that will get to a point where you're just not feeling them as much. And I can say that because I did it. And again, that's my belief system. And anyone who's listening to this right now who is suffering with depression, it's incredibly important for me to finish off this piece with this part is, I know you are struggling or suffering, but there is better for you out there. Know that for a fact. If you choose that belief system, fast forward a month, a year, however long it takes, you will look back and think, thank fuck I made that empowering decision. Alternatively, you can have the other thing is where this is just it for me now, but you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's a very hard thing for people to hear that. And, I'm accepting that some people might not agree with it, but try it. Have the belief system that things can get
But
better.
at the same time, like it's a weird one to navigate. And I
Absolutely.
think you articulated that beautifully.
Appreciate it.
But at the same time, like you can't really argue with the facts. It's not going to work for everyone
No, not at all.
at all. But me and you are both sat here as a result of challenging those
Difficulties and
yeah,
emotions and stuff.
and being just at having that kind of mindset. And to be fair, no one did that for us either. Like
Fuck
we
no.
had to we came to that conclusion at very, very different stages of
And
lives.
for a
We're
long
very,
period of time as
with
well.
different ages. And do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not just overnight kind of, oh,
Mhm.
okay, this is what I'm going to do now. It takes a lot of work,
Yeah.
but we are both sat here as a result of challenging that kind of thought process and wanting more, the
100%.
feeling of deserving more, and just
Mhm.
feeling like this cannot be it. Like there's that kind of, it's that fight for me now to like, I cannot go backwards
No.
because the thought of being that kind of level of unhappiness
Mhm.
and that kind of feeling of loss,
Mhm.
like I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy.
No, not at all.
So it's quite empowering now to kind of like say it out loud of like, no, like I will not
So
be defined by my mental health
no, fuck that. And
at
that's and
all.
that's why I like, the sentence, the standout sentence that someone may take from this. I mean, me even like, hearing it back, I'm like, did that motherfucker just say that depression was a choice? Like, how dare you? Or he
Mm,
even was like talking about the depression having any element of a choice. I'm like, there's way more to it than those,
yeah.
those 3 or 4 words. It's like having that fork in the road of, nah, me and you have had this fork in the road
Mhm.
probably more than once. I'm like, I'm not settling for this.
Yeah.
I'm just not. Like,
I had it this week.
yeah,
That's what I said.
it is a
I've had like
choice.
I've had a real kind of like rocky up and down week,
Mhm.
and it was literally one of those things where I will not settle. Whether it's the shitty behavior,
Mhm.
whether it's my own shitty behavior,
Mhm.
like I'm not going to settle for this.
No,
Like we've
absolutely.
been down this road before.
Yeah.
It doesn't end well.
No. Let's
Switch lane.
Yeah, let's try something else. Let's go to this lane.
Yeah,
Let's try drinking, this instead of this. Let's
yeah,
try, going for a walk over here rather than me sitting and being on my phone. It's like, again, and this is just to back my point up, and I won't kind of keep repeating myself, but the concept when I talk about of these depressive symptoms having an element of choice to it is, if you can look at someone who is experiencing a lifestyle with a distinct lack of happiness. Therefore, there's a chance where there's a higher chance of being depressed, right? That makes
mhm,
sense so far. I want themselves, if they're listening to this, to look at their lifestyle and be like, is your lifestyle matching that of someone who is depressed? The chances are it couldn't possibly be yes. Whether it's a lifestyle, whether it's like the way that they're thinking, okay, we'll change that. What would a happier person think? What would a healthier person do today? What can you Google? How to improve depression? How to improve this and that? And I'm like, okay, pick up a pad and pen, write down 10 things you're grateful for. Go out to the sun, get off the Xbox, get off TikTok, go get some sunlight, get some vitamin D. 30 minutes, I think, or something like for the sun rays to get to you. You're getting vitamin D into your skin. It's going to improve serotonin. You're happier. Think of the food choices. How's your gut microbiome? That's another fucking conversation about gut health. There's
well,
just,
welcome to part 7.
yeah, literally. It's like we've been here for 10 hours. But just to summarize, and again, we can move on because this is like it's a tricky topic, but it's important for me to summarize it.
Yeah.
I think it's, if anything you take away from, just make some conscious choices to improve things for yourself, and just like you said, Taylor, and what I was like, just enough is enough. Like, you're feeling low. Okay, well, just give something a go and try and do something about it, because the statistics of the big S word are disgusting. And if I can have any imprint, and probably you'd agree yourself, if we can have any imprint on bringing those percentages down on a day-to-day basis, then like we're going to do that. So it's like, listen to my voice, fucking change something, and just enough is enough for feeling low. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I literally, nothing will change
No.
unless you change.
Nothing changes.
So,
Nothing changes.
yeah.
Yeah, biggest quote ever.
I'm gonna completely back you up
Good
on that one.
Thank you, mate.
And yeah, it's, I don't know. I feel like I literally like forgot we were recording a podcast
Nah,
at one
mate,
point, and I was like, yes,
good podcast.
I was like a sermon or something. I was like, yes, praise.
Yes.
So it's all Sunday.
Yeah.
With obviously everything that we've kind of just like spoken about,
Yeah.
and you know, you've kind of got to that stage through like coaching. I imagine obviously there was a period of time before you had to kind of get to a certain level before you decided, right, maybe I do need a coach. For anyone out there who might be struggling with anything that we've kind of spoken about today, like, I mean, today you've kind of given some incredible advice already, but like, is there any kind of advice you would give to kickstart that journey even like harder?
Yeah, 100%. It's two things. So the two things that, and they're very broad, so I need to like dissect them. But the two things that you need, in my opinion, to look at for self development. And when I say self development, people are like, "Oh, what, you gonna ask me to do a cold shower at 6 a.m.?"
But this is is the problem I have with self development,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone who kind of, whether it's life coaching, whether it's mindset,
Yeah.
whether anything when it comes to stuff. Before I started my journey and this and that, I used to think, oh Jesus Christ, like all it's all like hippie stuff and this and that.
woo-woo stuff.
Yeah, until I challenged my thought process on self development.
Yeah.
Because if you're not developing yourself, then what
Where are
is
you
it that
going?
you're what
What
you're
doing?
here for?
Yeah, so carry on struggling then.
Yeah,
Full
so
stop.
that's the
That's it.
thing.
Yeah.
So it's like you can have, and I've been guilty of that mindset of like, oh God, I don't want to all this self development like crap.
Yeah.
But it's not crap.
No. Well, so feeling like crap is crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like,
So
well, you can stay
what's
there
the
if you want.
alternative?
Exactly. So that's like the two approaches to self development. I would say is, and going back to your question of like what people can do, right?
Yeah.
Go back to the basics in terms of what you're doing. And then the second one is the most important thing. I think often when people see my content, oh, you're a life coach, you're going to tell me to go for walks. Of course, that'd be great. No. You need to think about things differently. We have, I think the statistics, roughly, it's in between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. 80%, I might get these two mixed up. I think it's 80% of which that are negative, typically.
Wow.
90% are repeated day to day.
Imagine if you were repeating negative thoughts.
Bingo. How do you think you're going to feel? So that's why the thought processes and thinking about things differently is so key. So yeah, going back to your question of what, because I think this is good for podcasts where people listen to it and they've got takeaways. I think it's incredibly important, not just talking about thesis and ideas, right? So number one, go back to basics. And I've not got these written down, so I'm just going to reel them off. Humans are solar powered individuals. We need fucking sunlight. So get outside. Simple as, like, if you can wake up, I know, I guess England where we live isn't the sunniest, but you're gonna get sunlight if you're outside. So try to get out way more. Definitely in the morning. A morning routine is going to change your life, and I do this on my clients: mind, body, and soul. So mind, do things that's going to stimulate your mind. I'm going to keep this incredibly basic. If someone can tell me they haven't got 5 minutes in the morning to do like some journaling or just thinking or some breathing, I will spit in your face. No, I won't do that. But it's aggressive.
God.
I won't spit in your face. Don't worry. I've never done that, guys.
He's so passionate.
Yeah, no, so much passion. It's getting aggressive. No.
I've just woke up.
Yeah. I'm tired. No face spit. But I'll be challenging that concept, right? About the 5 minutes. So mind, body, and soul morning routines. Do something for your mind. So whether that's 5 minutes of meditation, a few conscious deep breaths in fresh air, grab a pen and paper, write down 5 to 10 things you're grateful for, and 3 things that you would love to tell yourself, like I'm beautiful, I'm strong, I am, just like you would tell a best friend. So you're kind of ticking that mind box off. Then you've got body, 5 minutes of mobility work. Us as humans, we have a certain lifespan. Things typically will get difficult for us as we go up. So joints start to hurt, muscles get tight as we sleep. 5 minutes of mobility. We have the beauty of internet now, which is just YouTube mobility routine. Bang, you've probably got some room to do some mobility. Movement, go for a walk, go to the gym, exercise. This isn't a fitness podcast, but you know where to look for that through the internet. And then just some deep breathing with meditation. That whole thing could do 15 minutes and your
Yeah.
life will change from a morning routine. So just going back to basics, like what are you doing first thing in the morning? Getting some sunlight. How are you talking to yourself? Just start challenging those negative thoughts. Like we beat ourselves up a lot, so try to switch that. You can do that with journaling again, writing down things you'd love to say to yourself. So they're kind of the basics, and obviously what you're eating as well. I'm really into gut health at the moment, and I've
Yeah.
drastically changed my life with. I've always had stomach conditions, and I've completely changed my life with what I'm eating. Just start googling like what sugar does to you, what carbs can do, what can fasting do for me. Low GI fruits, higher protein diet. What's the benefit of getting certain sleep? Magnesium before you go to bed. I didn't know any of this a few years
Yeah.
ago, but you just start to have conscious and start to think about things differently. So that's what I'd say about just being human basics: movement, sunlight, positivity, better relationships, living in line with your values. Number two, thought process. How fucking long have we got? I think the concept of like think positively, like cup half full, cup half empty. They're very throwaway comments, and they're just like, yeah, I know I should think positive. I'm like, no, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it more often than not. Just try for the next hour or the next day. Try to think more positively. Try to think it's raining right now, but thank fuck because the plants wouldn't grow and I wouldn't be able to eat. Or like, I hate my job right now. Okay, but that phone you're on, what's paying for that? Your salary. Your car you got outside, who's paying for that? Your firm that you're working for. So thank fuck you got a job. Imagine not having a job.
Yeah.
Imagine not having a roof over your head. Oh, thank God you got a job. Congratulations, you've changed your mindset about your job. What's next? I've just gone for a breakup. Really sorry to hear that, but could you imagine how thick your skin is going to be now? Can you imagine how much better your next relationship going to be? Can you imagine how much less shit you're going to put up with because of your last ex? What I've just done is just completely switched a mindset towards positivity. And if you can accumulate that over time, your brain is naturally just going to start thinking on the positive. Hello, solution based thinking,
Yeah.
you know? Your life changes over time. It's not going to change overnight, but your life will just change. And I know that might sound like a lot, but I mean, I've been talking about this topic for 5 minutes since you asked that question. And if you get a pen and paper, rewind this, start writing these things down, and just have, I'm not going to even get started on fucking discipline, but if you just like be more disciplined with doing these things, your life's going to change.
Yeah.
Fact.
For the
Period.
better.
For the better.
I love it. It's one of the biggest things that I have learned from this whole bloody waffle. I mean,
Yeah.
not just this one, but
Yeah.
the biggest bit of advice that I've always taken. And when people say like, "Oh, what was your favorite episode?" or like, "What's the biggest thing that you've learned?" The biggest thing I learned was from Paul from Celebs Go Dating, and he told me that in every situation there is two L's: loss or lesson.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like every situation now, like, yes, it might be catastrophically bad, or that relationship that it's come to an end, or that job that it's not serving me
Yeah.
anymore. It's the lesson. I haven't lost anything. Like, you lost what, maybe a little bit of time, but like that can be, obviously you can't gain time back, but like you've learned not to do it again.
Exactly.
You've learned not to go for that kind of person before. You've learned not to go into that kind of like line of work again.
Everything comes from a lesson. Like me moving out, I'm like, I got incredibly upset because I'm like, shit, I haven't really been spending like massive time with my parents, and I'm like, okay, well now the next time I see them, I'm gonna make sure it's quality time. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna hug them when I'm walking. I'm definitely gonna hug them on the way back. I'm gonna check in on them and see how they are. Like send them the funny video. It's a lesson rather than just
Yeah.
go, oh fuck, I didn't spend good quality time with them. All right, change it then. Past is gone.
Yeah.
You know.
So obviously we talk about music as well quite a bit
Yeah.
on the show. Obviously it's music mental health podcast. Um has there been any kind of like defining songs throughout
Yeah.
your journey?
100%. 1975.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
1975. Robbers was I've
Yeah.
so in lockdown. I just thought like, I always kind of like the 1975 of like
Yeah.
Somebody Else is a very popular song, and in lockdown we could only go for like a walk, like a home
Yeah.
workout. So I do my home workout for literally like 2 hours because I'm working from home. I can't really see the boys. I was single as well, so I kind of just haven't really got much. So I'm going to go for like hour or 2 hour walks every single day, and I would just churn out 1975, the new album, and just when I was seriously struggling like that, I think when they closed the gym on for the second time, it was
Yeah.
the Omicron flare up,
Yeah.
which I think was
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was in December because it cancelled the holiday as well. They closed the gym for the second time, and I was my mood went from it was a dark switch
Yeah.
immediately. I just got up on my room with my desk. I remember it clear as day. Got in my car, drove to the beach, and just was just playing 1975 just over and over and over again. And then yeah, like when I used to get drunk with boys, I'm like, this boys seriously, like the 1975 literally saved my life, because I was
Yeah.
just like, I just churned them out. I'd turn all the lights off in my room and I'd play 1975 at the O2 from like 2000 and I can't remember what
Yeah.
year it was, you know,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yes. Yeah, yeah.
I was just playing that and I was just like watching. I was just like, okay, Matty Healy, like funny videos or like just yeah. So the yeah, it's interesting you bring it up because I never really think back to it. But yeah, the 1975 was definitely like a defining time in lockdown for me to just get through it and be like, oh, I can't wait to go for a walk because I just get to like bang, new album. You know what I mean?
Is there any songs that you can't listen to now? That
Very
because it takes
interesting.
you
Oh,
back?
interesting. Okay, yeah. So so funny. So that breakup I told you about, the one that had like a really bad depressive spell after it.
Yeah.
I remember we was like me and my ex at the time were um kind of just laying on the bed once, just like chilling, just laying out and listening to like One Direction, just like
Yeah.
listening to the old songs. And I remember her saying, oh, I really like that one about like the red dress, and it was per
Going out tonight. Yeah.
that
Is that
one.
one? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, no, I don't know if
I
that
can't remember
was.
the name. No, that is the song, but I
Yeah.
can't remember the name. Anyway, it's a One Direction song, and every time, and here I'm going to teach them very, very quickly here. This NLP game. So I had anchored an emotion to a song.
Yeah.
So every time the song come on, sadness was anchored to it. So then I just started to think about the different. I'm like, I'm making a conscious decision that whenever this One Direction song comes on, I feel sadness. I literally have to like shake my head about it. I've anchored that, so I can just flip it and say, well, "Hang on, it's just a song. It's just a
Yeah.
song. That's a conscious choice, right?" So yeah, I then now change that so I can listen to whatever that song is, which is definitely still in my like songs because One Direction slap. It's definitely still in there, and I can listen to it fine now. So it's interesting you bring that up, but from now, no, I don't. I think I've managed to like being a
Yeah.
mindset coach. I'm like, right, let's just get as much shit as possible that's going up in here. So I think I've managed to get rid of all the cobwebs up there.
Yeah. Is there any song that you listen to that like really like yes, like
Being a gym goer, there are some that get me going a bit savage. I have there's like 8 or 10 minute like motivational. I'm big into motivational speaking.
yeah,
I want to do that one day. So there are some like 10-minute things in there that like genuinely get my head into a space of like I will I'm gonna conquer the world, or like if because at some point I'm not gonna try and go too off on a tangent here, but at some point there is gonna be the worst day of my life that's coming
yeah,
up. I'm kind of getting ready for it.
yeah,
And that's why I started this whole process. I used to refer to that a lot actually. I'm like doing all this stuff because at some point there's probably like 5 days that are coming up, maybe, or like 4 days in the next in my life. I mean, they're probably gonna happen. I need to kind of be ready for that.
Do you know what? This is a really interesting conversation,
Mhm.
which I don't think I've ever had on here
Interesting.
before.
I like the deep conversations.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of like things about like death recently,
but
especially
this
in the last
is
few months.
one of the things that so with the situation that I'm in with my mom,
Mhm.
obviously every time my phone rings,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know
What the phone
what
call's
that
gonna be.
outcome is going to
Uh-huh.
be. Like, especially if I see it's whether it's from a withheld number or
Yeah.
it's from the neurological care home where she now
Panic,
lives. I'm
worry.
like, okay, it's almost like like if you have like if you're going in to have a baby,
Mhm.
you have like a bag that's packed of like an overnight bag, like nappies,
Es-
like
Essentials,
yeah,
just in case things.
it's almost like I have a mental, like, overnight bag
Yeah.
for when that day comes
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I've been planning for probably 3 years
Mhm.
now, and it's really weird because I don't think I've actually ever spoken about it
Mhm.
until you've just
Right
said it.
now.
Because 'cause I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not weird for having that,"
No.
because it's all these and I think this is why, like, there's been so many times when I've wanted to step away
Yeah.
from the podcast and just
Mhm.
like, "Do you know what? I'm in a good position now,"
Mhm.
but I think until that day happens,
Mhm.
I need to keep adding to that toolkit.
Add it. I keep on adding because yeah, it's like me. It's like it's coming. So
Yeah,
it's coming. I don't want it to happen, and I used to really struggle. I used to really struggle getting to sleep. And it's only a few years ago to be fair, I'd really struggled. Oh, what if this happens? I had a bad dream the other night, and I
yeah,
like texted my mum and like, "Are you and like your partner?" Like,
yeah,
okay. Um, and or her partner, sorry. I was like, "Is everything good?" Because I do worry about it, but I'm just like adding. Like that's why I started doing cold showers. I need to get back
yeah,
into it. That's why I need to like. So if my self help game has gone down a little bit because I've been so busy, but
yeah,
I'm just building up. I'm building up, like you said, the toolkit because there's a bad fucking day that's going to happen.
yeah,
That's going to come, and like we need to be ready for it. That's again a choice. You
yeah,
know, it's like, and then I think talking about it. Do you know what? Talking about it is good because it allows. If you was talking to me about said situation that could happen for you, I
Yeah.
would love to be that person. It's like, you're gonna be good. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay. Like it's
But I
gonna
think
suck.
that that's the key thing there, because it's like you almost have to be that person for yourself. Like, it's gonna happen, it's gonna hurt. Like, there is gonna be it's
Can't even
there's
articulate,
yeah,
can you? Yeah.
you can't, and it's gonna be so difficult to navigate at the time.
Mhm.
But I also want to be able to do it in the best possible
Why
headspace that
would
I
you
can.
not? Why would you
Yeah.
not want to do
It's like
that?
training for a marathon, isn't it? You're not
Mhm.
gonna be like, actually, I'm gonna do a marathon, do no training whatsoever.
Yeah, it's gonna
And
suck.
it's weird because it's like we're talking about this as if it's like an event
Mhm.
that, I mean, it will be obviously an
We're
event,
talking
but
about like it's coming up, like we know the date,
yeah,
but we're like we don't know, and that's why it's so
yeah,
important. Just be like, I love to build my mental fortitude or my discipline to a point where, and you know what, I said this. I think someone asked me was like, why are you doing self development? And I'm like, because I know that it was actually on cold showers. Actually, I was training myself to be so disciplined because I know that one day if I've got like a wife and kids, there might be one day where something happens to me and I don't want to get out of bed to provide for my family. I'm
yeah,
building up the discipline so that I can get out of that fucking bed because that's just all what I might need on that day. So I'm just building it up now because if I don't do this work, knowing how my mentality is sometimes, whether it's from my past, but that's another fucking conversation, there might be a point where if I didn't do this work and something does happen to me, I might not want to carry on.
yeah,
And I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna die at one point. I'm literally, you're born and you die one day, roughly about 100 years later, wherever it may be. So I might as well make the most of it. And
yeah,
there's gonna be dips, and I don't really want there to be dips, but there's gonna be dips. So I might as well improve those dips as much as possible. It's like preempting and doing it
mm,
before. And like you said, being that person yourself to be like, dude, this is gonna fucking suck so bad. But what are your options? Give up or keep going? It's your fucking call, man. It's your call. So you can give up if you want, but that sucks. Like think of how many people are going to be upset, etc. If you just give up and you be that person you don't want to be. So pick fucking option two. Be better. Sunlight, routine, gym, all that stuff. You know, it all comes back to that. But sometimes you have to go down that little rabbit hole. And I have to sometimes as well. It's kind of why I started my business because I'm like, I'm going to die one day, and I don't want to look back on my deathbed and be like, "Fuck, I wish I started a business."
yeah.
You know, as I mean, that's another conversation. But
No,
sometimes you
but
have to look at
it's
the
a very, very good one to
you
have.
have to look at the big things sometimes. Put things into perspective.
You have genuinely been probably one of my favorite people to waffle with. To have that Instagram live and then to now have this kind of conversation face to
Yeah.
face, like, it's not like I'm talking to two different people,
No,
but I can completely see like how much all this kind of work has
mm,
impacted you in a positive way,
I appreciate
and
it.
you cannot argue with the facts from that kind of thing.
That's why I push
Like,
everyone else to do it.
yeah, it
Like,
does work though,
yeah.
but it's true though, isn't it? And I think this is where it really does set you apart, because it's the passion there, it's the lived experience. It's like, I would not be sitting here telling you this if it didn't work.
Mhm,
And at the same time, like from my side, I would not listen to someone tell me how to ride a bike
mhm,
who couldn't ride a bike.
mhm,
So it's like you've got the lived experience, like you've got all these kind of practices in place that are working for you. And the way you have articulated this, especially that last little bit for me, like I almost felt like emotional, like I'm not on my own feeling these things. Like I'm
no,
not
not at all.
like mad for like putting these things in place
Mm,
or exploring self development,
hell no.
like pushing past that fear of the judgment of working on yourself.
Mhm,
Like it's not selfish. It's not like putting these things into place can literally take you and to the heights of wherever you should be.
mhm.
Um,
And it's
you've been fucking brilliant to waffle with.
appreciate it. Good. That's why I'm like everyone get on the self development brain
Yeah,
because I'm like I did it on my Instagram story the other day. I'm like I was walking down by the beach, so lucky to live by the beach, and I was just walking. I was thinking, I'm like, why did I even start this in the first place? And the whole mental health like week, mental health month. I'm like, I get it. I'm all for it. And I started this because of like mental health day. And I'm like, it's no, it's mental health day every fucking day because we all have a brain. We all have mental health, whether it's good or bad. So why are we just focusing on one week? If it was up to me, I'm like, it shouldn't even be a thing. It should just be something that we teach in schools. We teach, kids straight away because we all have a brain and you all have mental health. Every second, every millisecond, every thought, everything you see is all dictated on your mental health. So fucking hell, I'm like passionate, like God, the mental health week and month, brilliant. Like spread awareness and stuff. I'm like, every person in this world needs to priority number one shouldn't be fucking money. It's another conversation. It should be like mental health improvement. So I'm like, I appreciate your appreciativeness of the topic because I'm like, everyone needs to do it, every fucking needs to do it.
Where if people are listening to this and if they don't already follow you because they're weird, I'm calling them out.
Yeah, man, call them out.
Where can they find you?
Yeah, Instagram is where I'm most active. So it's just Jack Tipper, JCK TIPPER _ life coach is where they can find me. And I'm probably more active on Instagram. And I reply to everyone, even the people that are like trying to sell me, like promote bracelets and stuff. I open the DMs. I'm like, oh, fuck off, you're another weirdo.
Yeah, why is that a
They
thing?
are
That's
active.
another thing that winds me up as well. And you get tagged in things. Do you know how many iPhone 13s that I'm still waiting to be delivered?
I'm getting 15 people a day saying they can book me 60 meetings a day for my coaching business. Yeah. I could what's that max? 10 times 6. I could get about 900 meetings a day at the moment. That's another podcast. Yeah. It could be like social media, cold DMs, go away for us.
So, and you get that have you got your email in your bio?
No, thank God. It's bad enough.
Yeah. So this is something that I've learned. I need to actually take this out. I've just reminded myself to take out.
Do it after this.
Yeah. The emails that I get, like, we've taken a look at your Instagram and it's trash. You need to do this. I'm like, go on then. Do it.
Do it for free.
Yeah, do it for free. If you were that passionate that you've took the time to send me an email to say my Instagram's trash,
waive your fee.
You carry on. The Instagram is not a priority for me. No. And then the conversations are.
Yeah, they're the most
not the Instagram.
It's criminal. But so yeah, if you're trying to sell something, go away. But yeah, feel free to follow me. And again, this is like doing it from obviously a selfish point of view because I'm loving having these conversations. But from just like a human being point of view, I would like to think that I can articulate a better quality of life rather than a substantial number of influencers, not calling anyone out, that will give you a better quality of life rather than you just following someone and potentially getting self-conscious off. I'm like, yes, follow my Instagram.
Follow him.
So many tangents I can go down. We could literally be here all day.
It's the perfect show for it. This is what we do. We waffle.
I love it, mate.
But honestly, thank you for. I kind of don't want it to end.
Mate, we've been going for what, 5 minutes? Is that it? Love it, mate. Love it.
Thank you for joining me for a waffle.
Mate, I appreciate it.